What if Toji Fushiguro was in Demon Slayer? Now, you guys really wanted this one, and I'm fine making it because I honestly like doing these. Ever since What If Gojo was a Demon Slayer, I started enjoying putting random characters into the Demon Slayer universe. If you guys don't like a certain idea, make sure to go to the community posts and pick something else. I'm cool with doing whatever you guys vote for, and you've been dropping a lot of good ideas in the comments too. Toji Fushiguro is pretty cool. Personally, I think Maki is better and has a better story, but Toji is still really cool. So let's get into the timeline. Tanjiro's story at the start stays exactly the same. He goes out in season 1, finds his family dead, Nezuko turns into a demon. He fights Giyu, trains with Urokodaki, goes through final selection, and defeats the demons like the Drum Demon and the Swamp Demon, all the way up to Mount Nadagumo. Just like my other videos, I like introducing the new character at Rui's Mountain. That's where I introduced Gojo, and that's where Sukuna showed up too. If you haven't seen those videos, go check them out. My favorite is still the Gojo one, but the Sukuna one is alright too. This time, instead of calling Shinobu and Giyu, the Ubuyashiki family head calls Toji Fushiguro. Toji has his heavenly restriction fully realized with all of his JJK abilities. He's as strong as he is in Jujutsu Kaisen. Toji heads to the mountain. He's fast, but not as fast as Gojo or Sukuna. He doesn't have teleportation, and he might get sidetracked along the way. By the time Toji arrives, Tanjiro and Inosuke are fighting the Father Spider Demon. Tanjiro gets blasted away right as Toji shows up and starts killing demons. Toji kills the demon that Shinobu killed in the original timeline. He saves Inosuke from the Father Spider Demon almost instantly. Inosuke tells him where Tanjiro is, and Toji rushes over. Toji is a demon slayer in this timeline, so he has a Nichiren blade. He reaches Tanjiro, who's on the ground and barely conscious. Toji doesn't even realize Tanjiro is there at first. He slices Rui's head off in a split second without using any breathing style at all. After that, Toji notices Tanjiro on the ground and asks if he's okay. He then looks at Nezuko and immediately tries to kill her. The Ubuyashiki family steps in and says it's okay for Nezuko to live. At the Hashira meeting, Toji is already considered one of the Hashira. He technically uses stone breathing, like Gyome, but he barely relies on breathing styles at all because his heavenly restriction already gives him insane physical strength. Tanjiro still gets let off with Nezuko. Giyu and Urokodaki vouch for him, and the master wants him around. After that, we move into the Mugen Train arc. Now, just like the original timeline, and like I said before, Toji Fushiguro would get sent on the Mugen Train mission. I already used this mission for Gojo and Sukuna in my last 2 timelines, and it's honestly a really good test of a character's abilities. This time though, there's no reason for Tanjiro to go. Tanjiro is trying to learn about Hinokami Kagura, and why would he ask Toji about that? So instead, Tanjiro goes wherever Rengoku is to ask him. So now we have Toji Fushiguro versus Enmu. This fight is actually interesting because of Toji's body. In Jujutsu Kaisen, we saw in the Shibuya arc that Toji's body is special. He was able to break through that old lady's technique, the one that took control of bodies. I don't remember the exact name of the technique, and I'm not that deep into JJK like that, but the point is, his body overrides stuff like that naturally. Because of that, Toji breaks out of Enmu's dream easily. He kills Enmu way faster than Tanjiro and Inosuke did in the original timeline, and he even saves people on the train. When the train derails though, Toji can't really stop that. He's not Gojo. He doesn't have that kind of ability. After that, Akaza shows up. Akaza still sneak attacks him, just like he did with Gojo and Sukuna, but Toji senses it. His senses are insanely sharp because of his heavenly restriction, and because of his time in the Zenin clan. You know that place where they threw Maki and her sister? The room full of curses? That kind of environment sharpens your instincts. So Toji senses Akaza, and they immediately start throwing hands. Toji is more on the Demon Slayer level compared to Gojo or Sukuna because he doesn't have cursed techniques or magic abilities. He's just a pure superhuman. Demon Slayer has superhuman characters, but not on Toji's level. So Toji and Akaza are straight boxing. They're destroying the environment, destroying bodies, but Toji's body isn't breaking down like Akaza's opponents usually do, because if it did, he'd just die. Toji eventually pulls out his main weapon, his Nichiren blade, and kills Akaza. He does use a little bit of stone breathing, but it barely matters. He kills Akaza pretty cleanly. Not as easily as Gojo or Sukuna did, but Toji actually had to take Akaza somewhat seriously. Still, it's a solid win. After that, Toji returns to the Demon Slayer Corps and explains what it's like to fight an upper moon, but none of the Hashira really understand it because they don't have Toji's body, speed, or raw physical power. Next is the Entertainment District arc and the Swordsmith Village arc. Both arcs play out the same because Toji doesn't go to either one. Tanjiro still unlocks the Demon Slayer mark in the Entertainment District, Tengen loses his arm and retires, Nezuko still cures the poison, and in the Swordsmith Village arc, Muchiro and Mitsuri still unlock their marks and defeat the 2 upper moons. Then we get to the Hashira training arc. This arc doesn't really change much either, because Toji doesn't care about the Demon Slayer mark at all, just like Gojo and Sukuna in the other timelines. After that, the Ubuyashiki family head sacrifices himself, setting up the plan to draw Muzan out and send everyone into the the Infinity Castle. Now, in all of my what-ifs, Toji, Gojo, Sukuna, everybody, always goes up against the strongest person, which is Kokushibo. So Toji does the same thing here. But here's the thing. I thought about this a lot. I even talked to ChatGPT about it. I personally thought about it in my head too. And I know people glaze Toji a lot. Yes, Toji defeated Gojo, but that was an unawakened Gojo who was already worn down. So yeah, Toji is strong in that sense, but realistically, I want to talk about this after the fight. For now, let's just get into it. So Toji drops down and immediately starts fighting Kokushibo. Right from the start, Toji clearly has the speed advantage. But just because he's faster doesn't mean Kokushibo can't regenerate or deal with what Toji is doing. Kokushibo starts throwing out massive moon-breathing slashes, cutting everything around them. Toji glances back and sees Muichiro and Genya trying to get involved. Toji tells them to get out of there because they're just going to hold him back. Now after that, Toji realizes something important. He can barely do any real damage to Kokushibo. The regeneration is just too much. And even beyond that, Toji cannot win this fight alone. This is what I'm talking about. I know a lot of people are going to get mad in the comments, and I totally get that. But Kokushibo would beat Toji in a straight one-on-one. He has hundreds of years of experience, insane skill, and regeneration. So here's what changes. Gyome and Sanemi pull up. Sanemi stays back because Gyome straight up says he won't be enough for this battle. Gyome steps in because he's the strongest Hashira with insane physical strength. At this point, Toji unlocks the Demon Slayer mark. He gets a massive boost, but it doesn't last forever. So now it's Kokushibo versus Toji and Gyome. Gyome is the strength of the group. Toji is the speed of the group. They start working together, and since both of them use stone breathing, they actually sync really well. Kokushibo's moon breathing has insane ranged attacks that can seriously damage them, but with Toji's speed and Gyome's raw power, I think they can pull out the win together. But I'm gonna say this clearly. Toji alone cannot win this fight. I don't care what anybody says. Even with heavenly restriction, Toji cannot beat Kokushibo by himself. A lot of people say JJK doesn't scale to Demon Slayer. It actually does, and this is why. Just because Gojo and Sukuna don't scale doesn't mean the rest of the JJK cast does. Toji is the most realistic crossover character here. He's not on Gojo or Sukuna's level, and that's exactly why he would lose a fair one-on-one against Kokushibo. Now, with Sanemi, Genya, and Muichiro getting split up after being ejected from the Kokushibo fight, I think Sanemi would definitely end up in the Doma fight. He finds his way there in time to save Shinobu, and together with Kanao and Inosuke, they defeat Doma. So that takes care of Upper Moon 2. Now with Giyu and Tanjiro, they're still roaming the Infinity Castle because they can't find Akaza since he's already dead in this timeline. After that, we still get Kaigaku versus Zenitsu, which always ends the same way, with Zenitsu winning using the 7th form. Then we have Yushiro, Mitsuri, and Obanai versus Nakime, the Biwa woman. Yushiro takes control of the Infinity Castle. Muzan notices, kills Nakime, and Yushiro manages to get everyone out of the castle for the final battle. Now with Toji Fushiguro, he has the Demon Slayer mark, and we honestly don't know how Heavenly Restriction would interact with the mark, or how long he'd live after unlocking it. Hopefully he makes it past 25, but who really knows? Either way, the remaining Hashira still need to help. Shinobu obviously can't fight anymore because her lungs are basically crushed, so she needs to rest. With Toji there though, this final fight is way easier than in the original timeline. Instead of Obanai and Tanjiro fighting Muzan together, this time it's a 3 versus 1. Obanai, Toji, and Tanjiro versus Muzan. I think this fight still ends the same way, with Tanjiro becoming the Demon King, then turning back into a human, and everyone living happily ever after. Mitsuri and Obanai still get together in this timeline, but Obanai is really messed up because he loses his eyesight. Mitsuri isn't as badly injured, but she still dies at 25, just like most of the marked Demon Slayers. So yeah, I really hope you guys liked this video. I actually enjoy talking about this stuff a lot, so leave your opinions down below. Make sure to check out What If Gojo Was a Demon Slayer? That's still my favorite one, and if you haven't already, watch my 1-hour Demon Slayer compilation, because I think that's one of my best Demon Slayer videos. Make sure to like, subscribe, and support the channel, because I really do work hard on these videos.